Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tattooing Network.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
What's going on, Outriders? John, Matt, and LJ, our official fourth Outrider, is hanging out with us today. What's going on, man?
The objectively better Josh.
It's not even objectively. It's just better. What's going on, man?
There's a lot going on in the world of Legion right now. I know we got a lot to talk about today, and as I was just explaining to you guys before we started, got a lot going on the personal front, so it's shaping up to be a pretty busy summer.
Yeah, just before we get too far into the Legion stuff, what's going on with you, man?
We are at the end of my first full year at school, of the new school I started teaching at this year, and we also bought a house, me and my wife, so that's pretty exciting.
Congratulations, man.
That's awesome. So it's probably what, like a $5 billion house in LA?
Yeah, 2 bedrooms. Yeah.
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 About right.
It's the equivalent of a Oklahoma mansion. Sure.
Nice. Well, we won't waste too much of your time here. Just kidding. That's actually exactly what
we're going to waste all
today.
of your time here. That's all I have on my show notes for today is waste LJ's time.
How can we waste LJ's time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got some cool stuff to go over today. You just got done with Kublacon. I was at an RPQ this weekend down in Arizona, and
You got some hot takes for us?
Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to go over. Plus, we are on the Final Four of Invader League now, so we brought in, of course, the resident master of all things Invader League to discuss that. And but first, we're
a little bit of rules reference out on the horizon too. Yeah,
and the rules
so
reference
much stuff
guide.
to talk about.
So we've got lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm glad we brought on somebody who is infinitely wiser.
But first,
some
Star Wars news.
Where's my ATST, Matt?
Oh, I've got it back here. Well, you don't even want an ATST. Get out of here. Where's my Sabine, John? Where's my Bosk, LJ? No. So obviously the last Thursday of the month has come and gone with no release for our Legion people. And actually, so I had previously reported that the ATST was scheduled for distribution on the 27th of June, and even that's gone away as of this morning. So, and now it's showing the indeterminate time that they put when they don't know. Although I've been hearing people say like 7 June or something, and I want to say there was an email I saw from Fantasy Flight backing that up. So that should be coming out. Still no idea about anything else. Tauntauns, Sabines, nothing.
Ugh. Okay. So we're hoping that isn't going to push everything else further to the right.
I mean, it probably will. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
There's RPQs and worlds and all kinds of things that have
all sorts of stuff coming
major
up.
implications for that.
The implications. Right.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm fine not seeing Sabine at Worlds, so, they could take as much time as they want with her.
Oh, a little self-interested delays with those releases. You're like, oh, that's too bad. So sorry about that.
I'd like to have Sabine, but then again, I don't have, an invite to Worlds, so...
There's a boat out there in the ocean that's been lost for like a long time now. Not gonna say I was involved, but it might be true.
You had the Coast Guard interdict and search them.
That's probably exactly what.
Yeah.
I just went all Tony Stark on them, and hacked in and bypassed the mainframe because that's what you do, right?
Oh yeah, you got to bypass that mainframe. The mainframe's always in the way.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were just gonna say you went all Tony Stark and died.
But then I heard they counterattacked with their firewalls and sent them after you, so...
Well, sorry, we haven't seen the ATST yet,
Nope.
down ATST, but we did get the rules reference guide.
Rules reference guide, yep.
And I feel like that may be a bigger deal at the moment right now, as far as the game itself
For
is
sure,
concerned.
yeah. More implications there.
Yeah, exactly.
A down ATST. But other Star Wars news, the Galaxy's Edge portion of Disneyland opened it up last night.
Yeah.
And for the first several months, they're going to have reservations only attendance. So I'm sure it's still hilariously packed. I want to say there was a live stream for the event. I'm going to have to go dig that up and check it out. But
yeah,
I'm excited. Hopefully,
they had Lucas.
Get out there and fall.
They had Hamill. Who else did they have? They had Billy D.
Yep, and Harrison Ford.
And Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford, and I think Bob Iger. So yeah, it was quite the little crowd they brought out for that. That was pretty flashy.
I'm liking Harrison Ford's beard, by the way.
Yeah, it's actually. I didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah, that's what Han Solo should have been in the Force Awakens.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a little more disheveled.
Yeah, just maybe, a little more grizzled.
Right. So if George ever takes over the controls again, I'm sure he'll release a special edition with the CG beard. So,
also, does Billy D. Williams need a cane, or was he just rocking that as an accessory?
I don't even know. Who cares? He can do whatever he wants.
An awesome cane he's walking around with, and I'm like, man. I was like,
he didn't have a cane at the Star Wars Celebration,
okay.
So maybe he needs it sometimes, maybe not. Maybe it is just a fashion statement because he can do whatever he wants forever.
I didn't know if maybe he was shooting a Colt 45 commercial right beforehand.
Maybe right after, maybe during. He is very versatile and talented.
Yep. All right, so this past weekend, we had a couple big events in the Star Wars Legion, one of them being Kublacon, and you were up there, right? That was up in the Bay Area, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was up in San Francisco, so I got some family members up there, and Emily and I were lucky enough to get out of the house for the weekend and go hang out, and it was also our anniversary weekend, so it was kind of a nice little getaway for a couple days before we came back and started working on the house stuff. So Kubla was a lot of fun. They had a very solid showing, 32 players registered, and I think they had 30 on ground of the day and nobody dropped, which is always, preferable. There wasn't an odd number, so we didn't have to worry about any buys. And, the terrain was really there. And it's so nice to I've had my fingers in these big con events and to go to one and it be almost the same. Because they were using the terrain slips, they were using the report slips that we had created. They were, the terrain was around the same standard. It felt really good to go to it and be like, yeah, I didn't have to do anything, and I still had that, nice, smooth experience. I can't complain.
Awesome. So
you mean other people can do it other than LJ?
Yeah, he set the template.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I had talked to Nima a lot and David, who were running it, Endless and Nash J, and they did take a lot of stuff from the LTC website and were able to kind of apply it to what they were doing there. And I was checking in that last week just to make sure they didn't need more help or anything, but I really enjoyed it because it showed the kind of community we have here on the West Coast. Everything was extremely positive. There weren't any altercations that were questionable. There wasn't any problems as far as player interactions go, and pretty much all the terrain was locally sourced from stores and individuals, and it again ended up looking really solid. So that was
awesome.
Was a great thing to see, and I'm hoping that they can eventually turn Kubla into a national or some sort of qualifier, because if I can bounce between that and LVO, I don't got to go anywhere to help run events or play in them.
Now, you guys got this is a pretty big Legion community in the Bay Area in general. I mean, I know Nemo's was at LVO, and he's, I believe, one of the guys in the top cut for Invader League, or he was in the top 32.
He was, yeah, he made it in.
Yeah, Kingsley's from that area too, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so were they? What you said, Nemo was helping to organize. Did he play too?
He played on day one, and then he didn't quite make the cut, so he didn't play on day two, and he ran it. And then David, or Endless, ran the whole thing on day one, and then he allowed Nima to run it on day two while he was doing some other stuff. Kingsley actually did not get to show up. He had a work conflict come up, but yeah, all three of them are from the same area. And there's actually a good handful of other Discord guys that I know that I got to meet that I never seen before in person, so it was really cool.
Right on.
Awesome. So how'd you do?
Overall, I went 4-1 over the 2 days. So the way that they did it on the second day was they did an 8-person top cut, but you actually stopped playing when you lost. And so I swept the first day and was first place overall, which was awesome. I played against a couple newer guys and got to, kind of walk them through the game. But at the same time, they were, well-versed enough that it wasn't like a struggle. I think we both times had a very fun, but also kind of casual competitive match, and it was great to see. I think the guys had like 6 games of experience between the two of them that I played. And, the fact that they were willing to throw themselves out there and go to a tournament was like really cool to see. And I very much appreciated that. And then my last game of the day, I played against a guy from the Discord called Genghis John, who I haven't met in person. And I really like him. And the two of us had a really good, solid game between each other, and that wrapped up the first day. And as I said, I was in first overall at the time.
So you had a good game against Genghis John at the Kublacon?
Yep. If it could fit any more perfect, I wouldn't know what to tell you. And then on the second game of the first day, I actually played against a triple Wookiee Landspeeder list.
Ooh.
Nice.
That was quite interesting. That was an intercept game that I ended up cleaning up by turn 6, but it looked real dicey there. There was definitely a couple rolls that if they would have went one way or the other, it could have been a very different game. And then I lost to a list that surprised me, and I think I figured out what my kryptonite is in Legion. If you want to beat me, just play Vader. Because I am terrible at fighting Vader. The one that you came to, John, I had lost to, or the one after you came, I had lost to a Vader tank list, and then at Kubla I lost to I think it was a 9 activation Vader list, and it was again intercept, and I think I tried to get the early point in turn 2 in the middle, and I think that was a mistake. I think I probably should have waited and try to do a little firing line for longer than I did and kind of clean up some more of his units before I finally advanced. And so I got to be humbled by that loss a little bit because, I definitely, I felt very confident at the end of the first turn. I had done some real good damage to him. I kind of forced him into bad terrain, and I felt like I had a really solid plan. And I ended up losing by, again, 2 points on intercept. And
wow,
it was a good loss though, because I was playing with a list that I'm considering for Worlds, and it definitely gave me a little perspective on how to play that list and maybe something I might want to consider removing or changing. And that's a good lesson to learn now before it really matters next month.
Yeah, you don't want to learn that at Worlds. It's like, yeah, I probably should have played this differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Were you running the middle management list you ran against me a month ago?
No, I was actually running Krennic Boba.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So I've always been a big fan of Boba Fett. He was the guy that got me to Worlds in the first place, and I've been playing him nonstop since September. So after playing middle management, I was like, I got to work him in my list again. And so, I played around with it. I want to try Krennic because I like his, some of his stuff he can do. I really like Voracious, and I like Cunning. And Boba checks a lot of boxes for me, too. So that list right now is Krennic, Boba, a Death Trooper, 4 Stormtrooper, 2 with Medic, and everybody with DLTs, and then triple snipers. So it's pretty cold, cruel efficiency as far as lists go. It can be quite imposing, especially with the right deployment and the right setup. That firing line can be pretty hard to stare down.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, it's interesting that the Vader list did that well. Did he end up making it further in the tournament?
Yes, so he beat me in round 2, and so that meant he went to the final. And he actually played a guy from the Discord who goes by the name of Decaf, who had almost the exact same list as me, minus like 1 or 2 upgrades, like almost the carbon copy of what I had brought. It was hilarious because, we had never talked to each other about a list or anything. And he ended up losing that game, and Decaf won. And so he got second place overall.
Wow.
That's a really good showing for a Vader list.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way he played it. One of the things that he didn't do was he actually took reflexes, choke, and throw instead of push, which I know is pretty normal. And I think that was a mental mistake I had made during the game, as I was actually playing Boba like he had push. And if I would have been a little smarter and realized that he did not, I probably would not have played the center objective the way I did. So, it threw me through a loop. I wasn't mentally prepared for it, and I always don't respect Vader when I play good Vader players. I still maybe get a little too aggressive and should be a little more patient. So, it was again, as I said before, kind of a good lesson to learn, and a very enjoyable game. Kevin, who I was playing against, he is very, very fun to play even a highly competitive game against. I mean, we had a couple people watching us at all times, and the two of us were still talking things out, and if one of us made a little mental mistake, we were fixing it or catching it for the other person, and that's the kind of competitive game you want.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, my RPQ. So I went down to Prescott this past weekend and played against the Critical X guys. John Bushman and Brendan, of course, the Grand Marshal, who apparently actually does play Legion, believe it or not.
Oh.
Who'd have known?
Once in a while?
Yeah, I just thought that, he enjoys judging other people, and he actually does play the game and actually plays it quite well.
Yeah, we got our grudge match in at after LVO while we were waiting at the store on Sunday, and he actually beat me when we played.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's got a shrewd mind. And then Nathan, of course, the third guy from Critical X. So it was those three, and then of course the Phoenix / Tucson / a few people from Vegas. I think about 20 people ended up playing. Good turnout for the RPQ. I went 2-1. I lost to Bushman, who ended up winning the whole thing. And man, I hate giving bad beat stories, but Luke versus Luke, I threw 6 attacks on E-stims and hit 5. He blocked all 5, and all I needed was 1 wound on him. And feels bad. But I had a similar reversal of fortunes in one of the first games, so no complaints. But it was
Did you finally realize that Luke just isn't that good?
No. I realized
good. You shouldn't, because he's awesome.
I'm still under my horrible streak with Z6s. But other than that, no, it was a great tournament, good turnout, pretty diverse list constructions. Probably about 50-50 Rebel Imperial. Bushman won it, and he was running Rebels, so he was actually running a Flyboys list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and overall, just a good time. Long drive, but it was worth it.
You did it all in one day, right?
Yes, sir.
5 hours.
Woke up at 4 in the morning, drove down, played until 8 at night, and got back at midnight.
That was actually one of the.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I forgot to mention, is that on the first day at Kubla, I actually played against 7 ATRTs over 3 games.
No.
And that's definitely not something I'm used to. And then in the next game, that I played 4 Rebels and 1 Imperial, and I lost to the Imperial. That second Rebel, on the second day, that Rebel, as I mentioned, had the triple Wookiees and Landspeeder. So I actually played against armor in every list, which I haven't done in a while.
That's a fun thing about playing some of these bigger events, is that regardless of how competitive it might be, you're going to get some people who bring some very counter-meta stuff. So you really have to be prepared for all comers.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I see all the time, is that there are a lot of people that can make a deep run in a tournament because they just bring something that people aren't well practiced against. I know that Lupo is one that sticks out to me because he was talking at High Command, and he said that he loses fairly often with his Saboteur list because everybody in his meta knows him, but then he goes to High Command and he wins a World's End fight, so because people aren't used to fighting it.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I played against him at LVO, and he was my first loss because I looked at him like, dude, I honestly don't even know how to play against what you have right now. Yeah, and the fact that he's a hell of a good player, that kind of helps too.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm fairly happy that I'm not in his group for Worlds, so
Just a quick question about the RPQ situation. So we played strength of schedule, and there was no top 2 to determine who got first place. Is that a common thing you're seeing in RPQs, or is that kind of a one-off?
I haven't really been able to go to any because of, what my schedule has been like lately, but that's definitely something I've been hearing is that, the strength of schedule has been very prevalent in some of the RPQs because it's been hard for stores to, set the right amount of time aside to run a tournament from start to finish and have one winner. I definitely know that some stores have done cuts, so that way the people that get cut can at least head out early or whatever. But it seems to be fairly normal for that to be the case from what I've heard.
Okay. Because, it was a really well-run tournament. The guys from the store in Prescott did a great job. They even, had to accommodate because we had a larger turnout than they expected. But, they had, ample terrain, good tables and everything. But that was one thing that was kind of brought up was just, the fact that the first place was determined based on strength of schedule. Now, it kind of worked out well because despite the fact that Bushman won, he's actually going to be deploying, or he's unavailable to actually go to High Command. So the second place person, who also went undefeated, is going to be the one that's going to be going in his stead.
And you ended up, what, 5th overall?
I think it was 5th, yeah. So, 2-1, and then however strength of schedule worked, I got 5th. The Critical X guys, they're, I guess, objectively better than the Legion Outriders X because they went 1st, 2nd, and 4th.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went 5th. So I couldn't beat even their weakest podcast member.
It's a good thing I didn't go.
But it was, like I said, great event, good turnout, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, good to hear.
So let's get into this rules reference update that came out this week. So we were, kind of expecting something to drop probably before Worlds, and lo and behold, it came out with the newest rules reference guide. Cleared up quite a few of the things that we were kind of questioning. What was your biggest takeaway? What do you think was the one that's going to have the biggest immediate impact?
I like that we have the full rules for RAM. RAM is, the Tauntaun keyword that's coming up soon. And so you get to change X attack dice results to critical results if you performed at least one full standard move at its maximum speed during the same activation as this attack. So here's the thing that people are going to get tripped up on that, I'm glad that they have there pretty clearly, is that you have to perform at least one full standard move to get RAM. So if you move just like a quarter of an inch to make base contact with somebody, you're not going to get RAM. However, and I'll caveat this by saying it like this, if you take two moves and one is a full move, and then you maybe slow down and you take a partial to get that charge in, you still moved at least one full standard move as part of its activation, so you get the benefit of RAM. So if you're going to go ramming speed, make sure that you either move the full template distance or you have a move and then that charge move so that you don't lose that RAM ability, because RAM is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like it, the effect it's going to probably have, making them somewhat viable in close combat, because initially I wasn't expecting to be using my Tauntauns in that regard. So I mean that definitely adds versatility to them. Now, do they have? I don't have the card in front of me right now. Do they have charge?
I would have to see if I can find them really quick. So I don't know if there's any other ones you want to look at. I'll look it up while we talk.
Okay, because if I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like if they don't have charge, they would only be able to make that one move to be able to make their close combat attack. So essentially, they wouldn't be able to make that second move. Which, I mean, I guess changes a little bit, because then you're going to have to make sure you time that, or space that that movement out to to get them to exactly base-to-base contact with no more or no less.
Oh yeah, they don't need to give them charge. They gave them Relentless, the better charge.
Oh, that's right.
There you go. Yeah,
okay,
I couldn't remember if they had Relentless or Steady on them, but now everything makes more sense, because it is indeed Relentless, so they get to perform a free attack.
Yeah, Relentless is objectively better than charge, right?
Objectively.
I realize that everyone's saying objectively now, and
yeah, it's a thing. John, you were quite upset about the inability for Beast Riders to take cover behind barricades.
I wasn't quite upset. It was an initial. I was driving back from a shoot, and Josh was with me, and Josh just looks at his phone and goes, "Oh, look, the rules are out. Tauntauns can't get cover from barricades." I'm like, really?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like, and now I pulled up their article because I was looking that other thing up, and based on their size, I can't say that doesn't surprise me. I think with their innate ability to kind of move and bounce around and still get their free shot, it's probably a good thing they didn't, because then, like Wookiees or snow troopers, you just advance them up continuously behind barricades and they jump over them because they don't care anyway. And so, like, we kind of avoid that with Tauntauns, and considering how much they shoved in there for 90 points, I don't mind this concession.
No, you're right. And honestly,
they're about the size of like an ATRT, right?
Height-wise, it looked like it, yeah. And they're the same size base.
Yep.
I mean, they look good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just waiting to that moment where I walk into a volley of death trooper fire and just pick up all of my my furry little Muppets.
Tauntauns down.
Oh yeah,
right.
It's gonna be great, especially when you shoot before the Tauntaun activates and they don't get that dodge token. Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to that. But they definitely gave them a lot of tools to be valid, so I'm excited to see what they do when they hit the table.
And sorry to say, John, they also cannot embark or disembark.
So I can't put my one remaining
no,
Tauntaun
can't put him in an X-34. Yeah.
Tauntaun's day off, and he's just flying around the field. Oh, beautiful.
Hanging his head out the window. Hold on, drive closer, I'll ram it.
Screw you guys, we're going home.
So one of the other big changes, it looked like they finally clarified the standard move, so there's not going to be any more Palpatine driving in reverse in the tank, right?
Yeah, they, and I really hadn't actually seen that executed in person, but yeah, they made sure to define what a reverse is, so that way you can't double reverse, and then, Pal Pervader gets to jump out with both their actions and wreak havoc and stuff like that. So, yeah, glad they called it the way they called it, because, obviously that seemed like an unintended interaction, and now that's, not to worry about anymore. That was a big one. That was like a semantics one. Actually, one of the other big semantics one that I noticed is that you can indeed place mines underneath units.
Yeah, I know. Lupo was probably pretty happy about that, because he was commenting about it like a while back in one of the chats, and he was just like, you can do that. There's no reason you can't do that. And lo and behold, FFG was like, "You are right, sir."
Yep. I like just making sure that little things like that were left open to some molecule of interpretation, or like right there, like, nope, you can do it. It says here in the book.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is load up a land speeder with a bunch of mines and then send it forward.
Well, I mean, as much as Josh keeps calling rebels terrorists,
it seems like
it'd be appropriate, right?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I remember doing that with Jeeps in Battlefield 3, so I guess if it worked there.
Yeah, I mean, come on, the simulations have borne it out.
No,
so.
it's not that you could put it on top of the models; it's that you can put it under the model. So, like, you couldn't load your occupier up with suppressive mines and go send it on its merry way. Like, how funny would that be if you like had triple sabs and you chucked mines on top of it, and they were like on top of the bed, so like it could be seen by everything, and then the tank double moves, and then you explode based off the move action. Yes, complete with your.
I wouldn't be upset about it.
Complete with your. If you could do that, I might put a little sound thing inside the bottom, so like the tank driver yelled like Allah Akbar as he went forward.
Akbar jokes.
We're all in the military. We could joke about this. We can make technical jokes.
For sure.
So probably the biggest change, honestly, though, or the one that was the headline change, was the coordinated fire clarification. Yeah. So as an Imperial player, or somebody who usually trots out the Imperials, does this hurt your feelings a little bit?
Not really. I mean, coordinated fire was the one change I made in between Last Chance Qualifier and High Command. I got rid of it and put Imperial Discipline back in. Because because I really feel like to take like full advantage of it, you really needed to build your list around it. And even then, it's not a card that was actually changing much. Clearly it was better than Covering Fire, so like there was the disparity there, but it's not the be all end all card that I think some people made it out to be when it came out. Now I do slightly go back and preface that a bit by saying Shore Troopers definitely would have turned it up to 11 because Shore Troopers because they have target, they get a aim token when they get an order, so now you play Coordinated Fire and you get 3 orders, so you get 3 aim tokens, and then you play the aim game, and I think Kyle was saying that it was fairly easy to get 90 aim tokens if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and that I'm glad they had the foresight to fix that. But I think you're right. I think, especially with Imperials who are running either Boba, Bosk, or middle management, or anything besides just a single commander with no operative, you probably had better options at that 3-pip card anyway, right?
Yeah, I feel like the 3-pip spot is actually fairly crowded in the Imperial Spear. I mean, Master of Evil, Lying in Wait, Jetpack Rocket, Annihilation Looms, Imperial Discipline, those are all great cards, so there's definitely no reason not to bring most of those unless your list just really doesn't gel with one of them. So and I think at the same time, when they release a new unit, they don't have to look at that card and be like, okay, how does this work with this card? And they don't have to have that check every single time they make a new unit that might have something to do with aim tokens.
Yeah. Did you catch anything else from the rules reference update that was notable?
I think for the most part things are, as I said, little clarifications and whatnot. I think there was a ninja buff to Ion, if I remember correctly, that said basically Ion kills any active shield tokens that you have, or at least one active shield token. So yeah. So that's a Sabine / Droideka problem when they come out, but that was interesting. I also liked that they made sure to clarify some stuff around jump, and so if you are panicking, you have to use jump, so you take the most expeditious route possible and stuff like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a good little thing.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, so that was something they threw in there. Basically, we knew that that's how it worked. But people always made arguments that jump and this kind of action and whatnot. It's no, you can use it. You need to get off the board as fast as possible. Use it to get off the board as fast as possible. And they did the same thing with reposition. Your reposition, you got to make sure you use it to get off the board as quickly as possible. And if I'm remembering correctly, they might have even done something with push, where when you use push, you can use reposition as well. So, if you push an E-Web, you could flip it the wrong way and then move it, and then it has to try extra hard to be facing the way it was trying to face.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff they did there. There's probably other little things that we might be glossing over, just clarifying Critical X, Defend X. The Creature Trooper rules they had mentioned at Adepticon, they went over that a little bit more, as we kind of touched on earlier. So overall, I think this is a clean, good update, and just happy I play a game where they're listening and making these changes as time goes on.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, props again to FFG for not having, knee-jerk reactions like some other game companies do. They, everything seems to be well thought out and, anticipating what's going to be coming next.
Measured reactions.
Yeah, and factoring that in. So, yeah, again, I'm happy with the changes we've seen so far. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we're going to look at the new Invader League season and how the Final Four are shaping up.
You're listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network, recorded on location at Power 9 Games. Whether you're looking for the latest releases from Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Magic, or any of our other extensive inventory of board and card games, head to power9games.com and use coupon code OUTRIDER10 to get 10% off your order. Plus, shipping is free on orders over $100. Now, back to the Outriders.
All right, welcome back, Outriders. John, LJ, and Matt.
I got to the back of the order on this one, too.
Well, I mean, I'm just
No,
replacing
it's fair. It's fair.
LJ with Josh.
Okay.
So,
I've been doing that mentally all episode.
plus if we're going alphabetical,
I had a better strength of schedule. Sorry.
That's fair. Which is how we determine such things. Wait, why am I still here?
no, you're still last.
Yeah.
Objectively.
Oh, okay.
Golden spoon.
One of these days, I will claim it.
One of these days.
My birthright.
Real quick before we get into the Invader League talk for this week, I just want to give a quick shout out to one of our first fans and listeners who was he's been super active within the community. Darren McGregor, he's a great guy and also a hockey fan. So
big hockey fan.
He is going into treatment for cancer, and we just want to let him know that you're in our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully everything comes up well.
All the good vibes, love, and support.
All right, back to Legion. So Invader League Season 3, we're, Final Four right now?
Mm-hmm. Final Four.
And we've kind of recapped most of what we've seen through the single elimination rounds through top 32. Who are the Final Four people we've got going on?
All right, so starting from the top, we have the not U.S. side of the bracket. That wasn't on purpose. That's just who's left over on the top half. Nikki Myland and Beefcake 4000, the beefiest of cakes. So Nikki is from the UK and Beefcake is from Australia. So it was actually really cool this season to see that we're basically guaranteed to get a US versus non-US final. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. That's awesome. That's probably why I didn't recognize the names.
Yep. So they're both Imperial players. Nikki is running double bounty, if I remember correctly, and so is his opponent, Beefcake. And then on the other side, you've got Luke Cook, the kid, which is what I was trying to say. My favorite high command opponent, and also who is not in my world's bracket, thank God. He is running, I believe it's a classic Veers Boba, if I'm remembering correctly. So, pretty straightforward there. And against Orchimedes, Kyle Dornboss, who is in my world's bracket, sad face.
Good luck with that.
And yeah. And he defected this season. He is probably one of the best Rebel players I know. And this was his first time playing Imperials. And he went in playing Veers Bosk, I think it was, not Krennic Bosk. I don't think, actually, Veers is the commander in all four of the single elimination top four now.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went in playing Veers Bosk, and he rounds out our top four. So it is 4 Imperial players. The top 8 was 6-2, and unfortunately our 2 Rebels, Rippus Master and Kingsley, the 2-time champion, they've both been ousted at this point in time, and so that's our top 4 for a grand total of 4 Imperials and 6 Bounty Hunters.
Wow.
Yeah, so all 4 of them are running Veers, and none of them are running Krennic with him. So it looks like Veers is kind of the is he just
still holding it strong?
Is he just the most efficient for points wise?
Veers likes the bounty hunters. He can help you get an aim and then move, which is, very big for Boba because sometimes those black dice just like to whiff. Obviously big for Bosk because he's got so many white dice on his gun. His 1 pip is, strong in the sniper meta, and it can also hit, a character, an open unit pretty hard from the get-go. He's got the Inspire, and Inspires I think is very important with Bosk. And there's actually no Death Troopers in the top 4, but with Bosk floating around, I think having the Inspire is always useful. He's just good. Veers is my man. He's been my favorite character for the longest time. I've barely touched the other Imperial commanders, so I can't fault them there because Veers is still efficient for his 80 points. And I think 3 out of 4 of the top 4 list are also running improvised orders on him because, it's a good card.
Well, sure, and having that many operatives along with the snipers and everything, you need that control for for your activation tokens. What do you think the reason is we've seen so many bounty hunters? Is it because of the ability to get the victory point from bounty, or is it just that they're that great of a unit?
I think there's a various mix of things. Boba's always good. Boba's always, a great objective player, and he's got very impactful command cards.
And he looks super cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on. And, everybody wanted to try out Bosk this season, and so I think his frequency increased with the fact that, he is just a solid all-rounder, and that he was the new shiny kind of combined. I know Bosk did exceptionally well in the round robin because, to be perfectly honest, our maps were not as good as they could have been. I think we learned a thing or two about creating maps at Adepticon versus creating maps post-Adepticon. I think how much line of sight blocking terrain you have on your board has to be upped a little bit more from what we had originally built. And so the maps that we had for round robin kind of reflected that. And I think that kind of hurt the the Rebel numbers overall as far as how many made it into the final. And then it also gave units like Bosk and Death Troopers a pretty nice head into the game. So, they're both good. Bosk, Boba, they're usually pretty efficient at what they do. Neither of them are invincible. Bosk can just melt if you put him out of position, and Boba only has 5 health. So both of them aren't auto win buttons, but they're good. They're good.
So how is the play style with Bosk? Are you seeing just stay at range 4 and just try to shoot everybody from a distance, Imperial gun line kind of thing, or what?
I'd say it's gravitated more towards that. I know I've seen a fair amount of Merciless Munition play his 1-pip, but for the most part, he is just pretty good at hanging back and just raining fire down on something. And, especially against Rebels where you don't make a ton of saves anyway, that point of Pierce on his gun means you're usually making one less. And, it hurts them especially. And obviously he's not that bad against Imperials because, if you get a statistical dice roll, now you're losing half the squad. And he is, his ability to roll into crits is just crazy. I think one of our favorite matches was watching poor Endless have his Landspeeder take 5 crits from a Bosk and just explode.
Oh.
And,
that'll happen.
And his roll, the roll and the way that the Bosk player did it was like a 1 in 1,000 chance. It's not something you're going to see anytime soon. But at the same time, it's sometimes Bosk is going to Bosk, just like Boba sometimes Bobas. And I use Boba as a verb all the time because sometimes I throw those black dice and it's 4 hits, and I'm like, yeah, he Boba'd that. And then sometimes I roll my defense dice and it's 4 blanks, and I'm like, man, he totally Boba'd that.
Right into the pit of Carcoon.
I do that when I go get Asian drinks down at Tokyo Cafe. It's like, hey, could you boba that?
Could you boba that? Yeah, they do that at Universal Studios. You're right.
So with with Bosk having the surge to crit and throwing as many dice as he does, do you think maybe that they need to? It's been mentioned before about how powerful the ability that surge to crit, and maybe too many things have the ability to crit. Do you foresee that being an issue at all?
I don't hate it. One of the reasons why Legion is so exciting to me is because it can swing in the last turn, and you do have these momentous occasions sometimes where the game just changes. And I think it makes Legion more unpredictable, leaving the surge to crit on so many units. And I don't, as a person, I don't actually see that as a bad thing because I think it's created a more interesting game. I kind of wish they'd maybe do something to kind of help Rebels and their dodges. And I don't think I have a perfect answer. I haven't seen an answer that's really sprung to mind. I know a couple people on the Discord have thrown out making it so dodges work against crits, and that would obviously be a fix that would assist them. But I don't know. I don't know what the perfect answer is there, and I think that players will over time also learn how to play around some of these new tools. And then if you're tired of what the meta looks like, just wait a month. We're gonna get new stuff anyway.
Hopefully a month.
Yeah. Fingers crossed a month. That statement used to hold true a little longer ago, and May I think is the first month in forever that we haven't gotten it released. But we
do not alter it further.
Yeah, we're fairly spoiled as Legion players, in my opinion. Anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not complaining. My wallet needs the break. I bought a house.
Yeah, exactly. So with Worlds coming up, what's the date on Worlds again?
That's June 21st through the 23rd.
Okay. So yeah, if this gets pushed back, we probably won't see Bosk and Sabine available for Worlds, correct?
Yeah, I think they have to make it in by June 11th, because they still have the 11-day rule because it's a premier event.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
that actually that means that I think that they need to come in by next Thursday, because if they don't come in by next Thursday, the following Thursday is the 13th, and that will mean they'll be legal on the 24th, which is the day after the tournament ends. So, yeah, I think they're probably not going to make it at this rate.
Yep.
I really
Sad
have not had
trombone.
time to practice Bosk, so, like, I don't mind because Sabine is just good. So now I don't have to deal with her at Worlds anymore, and I am glad.
Would that have significantly changed the way you would have run?
I don't think so. It just would have changed what I expect to see from my fellow opponents, because, in the top 8 that are going to Worlds, we all pretty much know each other fairly well and what the other people have brought in the past. So, I'm not really spending a lot of time right now because of the aforementioned personal life stuff, thinking, oh, if they bring this, I'll do this, or if they bring this, I do this. I'm going to go with what I feel with most practice with at the time, because that's what wins me games, is playing with stuff that I've played. If I haven't gotten 15 games in with the list, I haven't played it enough. And I'm going to go into Worlds kind of not even worrying about the other half of the groups, because the other, I'm in Group B, and Group A is Davis, Luke, Lupo, and Kish, and I don't have to see them unless I make it to day 2. So okay. I'm not even gonna think about them. I'm thinking about the other 3 guys that are in my group. I'm not even worried about what the other people may run. So now, okay, Eric, he was the guy that that first guy I knew that did really well with Palp before I met Pinto. What could R1 be running? What stuff might he bring to the table? Gordon, I don't know Gordon super well, but I know what army he likes to play. Kyle's a wild card because now he's been practicing Imperials and Invader League. So I'm going to think about those scenarios and, just focus on that.
He doesn't sound like he even knows, based on listening to his podcast yesterday. It sounded like he's still up in the air.
No, I don't think he quite knows either, because, I think the fact that Bosk released would factor pretty heavily in his decision.
Yeah, especially depending on how he does with the Invader League. Mm-hmm. So, what do we got left? We got 2 weeks left for the Invader League?
Mm-hmm. Should be about that. One of the final 4 games is happening on Sunday. That's the UK versus Australia game, and then the Luke Cook Orc game actually isn't happening
the
until
Ashes
June.
match.
Yes, that game actually isn't happening until June 12th, so it'll be a while before their game happens, just because of personal reasons between the two. Just a lot of other stuff going on. So my assumption is that we'll get done hopefully somewhere around the 15th, 16th of June, which is perfect, because then we'll all be packing up and going to Worlds anyway. And we'll be able to call this season done, and we will be able to start the work for Season 4, which I 100% guarantee you will probably heavily feature clones and droids.
Nice.
Woo! Notice
awesome.
I said 100% probably, because who knows with FFG these days.
Well, plus,
60% of the time.
Yes, it works every time.
Yeah.
There's pretty much one guy who's been doing all of the work on the tabletop simulator for Legion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one guy that does the mod itself. I have a small staff of judges and helpers that help me run the league now, but the mod does have one main author, Kieran. You should check out his Patreon. He's a machine.
Yeah, give that dude some Patreon, because he's gonna have a lot of work cut out for him putting all those droids and clone models together.
Yeah.
Wow. Tauntauns, vets, shore troopers, the emplacements, the dewback, everything that's coming in the core box, the downed ATST, who knows? Yeah. It's all going in. So yeah, Tyrion's got a busy summer ahead of him, and he's just diligently working his way. So he does a good job. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see this season wrapped up. We definitely saw some faction dynamics change this time. As I mentioned before, I think the terrain definitely factored into it. 11 Rebels made the cut, whereas 21 Imperials did, and it was a lot closer last season. And I think out of the 103 non-mirror matches, the Imperials won 61 and Rebels won 42, so it wasn't as 50-50 as it was last season, and Imperials were favored on all the battle cards except for Recover and Disarray, and I think Rapid Reinforcements, those three went to the Rebels. So there were some glimmering stars of hope, but we saw a pretty heavy showing from the Imperials, and considering that there was 2 seasons that were very equal, and this season we saw a little bit of a dip. It's not time to panic yet. That's it's one season.
We just saw the Empire Strike
league,
Back. So.
You know, yeah. Return of the Jedi is next season, or Return of the Roger Rogers. I guess I don't know. It'll be fun.
Return of the Droids. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting to look at from a data perspective. But one of the things I always try to caution is that the TTS community on the Discord, we are our own little meta, and sometimes we get caught up in stuff, and everybody gets all excited about this thing or that thing, and then we forget item C, B, and C, D, and B or whatever, and it's okay. Put it in perspective, get some more games in, take a big breath after the season is over. It'll be really interesting to see how things develop, especially after Worlds and as we get into the Clone Wars, because the fact that, things change so often and we're finally seeing one side, favored a little more heavily than the others have been in the past, that's not bad. It's allowed, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think that's fair that people, and maybe it was misinterpreted that we've done it too, but the whole sky is falling thing, there may be some units that are A's and there may be some units that are A minuses and B pluses, but I really don't feel like there's that much imbalance in the game right now. And as a Rebel player, it's not like I'm panicking and trying to. You
got your Wookiees. What else do you want?
Exactly. I'm not trying to sell my Rebel stuff and switch forces to the jack boots just because you guys may have a little bit more efficiency at the moment.
Are you sure? We got cookies.
well, in that case.
Yeah, well, then come on down.
Yeah. I think the only thing I feel comfortable saying is that it just seems like Imperials have more tools at the competitive level. Not that everything Rebels bring to the table is worthless, but I feel like, the Rebel lists that I see making it super far at events are maybe a little more boring than the Imperial list, which I feel like you can bring more and have a little more variety in your life. But just like dynamic. I said, yeah, and just like I said before, though, just wait till Tauntauns and Sabine come out. It's gonna shift. It always does, and we haven't seen the end of this road yet. So don't put your panicking pants on just yet.
Oh, I always wear my panicking pants though.
I don't wear any pants.
Well, that's because you're wearing panicking pants, and now you know my joke.
Oh, right. Okay. Now I get it.
Well, that's pretty much all I got for today. You have anything else you want to talk about, LJ?
Oh, man. What do I say? Go Blues?
I'm with you on that.
I don't watch Puck. I just watch the Dodgers beat the Brewers every so often.
Ooh, okay, it's all right. We're gonna get back into this. How's Bellinger sitting with home runs right now? Because I think Yelich is still ahead.
Oh man, but the kid is so good. The kid is just so good.
They both are.
Sorry, Matt. We're a sports podcast now.
No, it's fine. I've since learned to turn my brain off during these segments.
It's what Josh always wanted.
Yeah.
Except he's more on the hockey side. Baseball, we'd lose him.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's much more. We're excited for this season to finally wrap up, and excited for Worlds to come up, and the Legion tournament circuit stuff has been going really well. I think we're at 98 stores that have registered for the community locator.
Nice.
So that map is hopping. So if you're looking for a place to play, and you're trying to find a brick and mortar store, go to the tournament circuit, go to the community locator, and see if there's something near you. Or if you do play somewhere frequently and you don't see it on there, make sure you submit it. Use that share community button and get it published on our map, because I have now heard over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple people contact me and be like, hey, I really appreciate the community locator because I was traveling for work and I was able to find a night to play Legion at. And, that's awesome. I want this resource to be tried and true. So by the time we get to August and you've got, that huge crop of Clone Wars players coming in, we've got the resources in place to help them be successful.
Oh, and that resource has been great. Just because I'm terrible at organizing things, and I'm like, okay, which RPQ is coming up in 2 weeks, and I'll jump on there. But, oh, there we go. I got to go to Salt Lake City for this one.
Yep, we've actually been updating the qualifier map a little bit more. It's now got the national events on there, so like
nice.
Nova and what is it? Gen Con is on there. And then, what we found out through trial and error is that the FFG website only has the US RPQs and the UK RPQs. It doesn't include any of the other international ones. So I was lucky, and I was able to get in contact with a couple guys from the Australia groups, and then I was able to get a German one put on there as well. So, like, if you have a rally point and it's not on there, email the Legion Tournament Circuit at Gmail address and tell us, where and when, what dates, what store, the address and all that, and we'll make sure it gets on the map. This is not just a United States resource. This is a world resource, and we're going to make sure we keep developing it so it's something that everybody can use as the game continues to expand. And, we're going to put more resources into it. We just put the terrain cheat sheets, the score sheets, links to tabletop TO and other software. Those are all up there now, and we're actually about to overhaul the terrain guidelines section to include some of these post Adepticon lessons I was talking about well, you should probably have this many line of sight blocking piece of terrain on your table and stuff like that.
Yeah, having some kind of standardized terrain setup, I think, is definitely something that you helped establish with a lot of these, big tournaments throughout the country, over the country, and I think having that resource available online would definitely be helpful for some kind of standardization.
Yeah,
it's a good eyeball check of the situation.
Right, and there are a lot of store owners that are like, I'm running this rally point, but I don't have a regular Legion night or people to lean on. Oh, cool, I can just look at these resources and it tells me what to do.
Awesome.
So, that's a big one.
Well, LJ, we're going to let you go, bud, but thanks a lot for joining us this week.
Good luck with your house, man. Thanks.
Thanks. I'm excited, and thanks for having me on again, guys, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
Big thank you again to LJ for joining us today. It's
what a stud.
It's always great to have him on the show.
What a good-looking fella with a great attitude.
He is, indeed. And, obviously a huge resource for the Legion community. I mean... I don't know where his game would be where it is right now if it wasn't for his input over the last year.
Yeah, lots of people efforts, but definitely he's been kind of spearheading a lot of those kind of initiatives.
For sure. So speaking of people who are awesome within our community, we got some new Patreons, right?
Yeah, we do have some updates also. So the Barricada shirts are at the printer right now.
Yeah.
So we could see them posted up on the power9games.com website as early as next week, assuming everything goes well with that. So fingers crossed there, and we'll probably have another update next week. Also, we want to say thanks to Zane F., who is now supporting us through Patreon at the Imperial Outrider level. So thanks Zane. We also have, because it's the end of the month, we have some gift cards and painted models to give away. So first is going to be for Charles Eames. I think I might have gotten that right, but who gets the $25 Power 9 Games gift card. So I'll be contacting you on Patreon. Keep an eye out for that with instructions. And Mike Cruz, who is going to get a painted model. I will be contacting you as well. Congratulations,
awesome. Congrats, guys.
And thank you for supporting the show, everybody.
Yeah. All right, next week we will hopefully have some more news on the upcoming ATST, down ATST.
yeah, we could talk about that. Maybe Josh will be back too.
Maybe. We'll see. And we'll get some updates on the terrain building, which we're going to start rolling out here pretty quick.
Oh, man.
Yeah, catch you guys next week.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter at Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this